Hey loving good earth scientists, and welcome to your last video post, your last project, your last grade as a 6th grader in science at Loving Good. On April 27th, which was last Monday, was week 6 of your digital learning, you got this information about the basketball erosion control challenge. This was the front page. It just kind of talked about how there's a hill. They want to build a basketball court. They're afraid that the hill is going to erode onto the basketball court. So how can we control the erosion? In that same document on page 2, you have a letter that was sent to us from the Board of Education saying, yes, let's see if we can control erosion and create a basketball court. Last week you did some labs to learn a little bit about erosion and what happens with different particle sizes, which are better for eroding, or actually which ones you wouldn't want to use for eroding and which are better to prevent erosion. This week we read an article on Monday that told us about ways to control erosion so that we could keep it from happening. So Wednesday, May 6th, this is your assignment, which is to go ahead and design your basketball court model. Really, the only thing you have to have is you got to have some type of container to hold your model. I suggest a plastic shoebox. That would be one of these things. You may have something like this at your house. It's about the size of a shoebox. It's plastic. If you do not have one of these, any type of container that can hold your model, and also a little bit of water because you will be putting some water in it to erode it. So you decide what materials you're going to need to create your model. I have provided you with the dimensions. These are actual dimensions for a basketball court. Well, we can't fit those in a shoebox. So ideally, if you really want a challenge, I would love for you to make your model to scale. So you're going to have to go do a little math to figure out what scale you have to come down to make 25 meters by 15 meters fit in your shoebox. Now you're not required to do that, but it is a challenge if you want that. You will then design your model. So you would draw your box. You would put your hill in there. What's your hill going to be made out of? How big is your hill going to be? You'll create a basketball court. And then you would, how are you going to keep the hill from eroding? What techniques are you going to use? Go back to your Monday assignment from this week for that. And then go ahead and make it rain on your model and see if you can actually keep it from eroding onto the basketball court. And write down the observations you have after you have completed your model. Now, in science, we don't do things one time. So I'm actually going to ask that you design your model a second time. You didn't do it perfectly. Nobody does anything perfect. There's always something you can do different. So what would you do different? I want you to redesign it. Some of you, that's going to be huge differences. Others, it will be minor. You do not have to test it again. I am just asking that you redesign. Please make sure in your designs, though, that you label everything. Label, the shoebox, label water, label wood, anything that you're using, make sure you label it. On this document, the very last page of this document is the information on how you're going to be graded. This is your final grade. It is due Thursday, May 14th. Okay? I'm going to read it real quick. Congratulations, you made a model of the basketball court and tested it. Now, prepare your presentation to the school board to convince them to donate the land to the school. The presentation can be a 2-minute or less Flipgrid video, a 5-slide or less PowerPoint presentation, or a written letter with illustrations. Your presentation must include the following information. Number 1, a brief explanation of each erosion control method you used. Your explanation can be as easy as filling in each bulleted statement below for each erosion control method that you used. So you literally can write or say in your video, if you want to control erosion on a hill, you should tell me the control method, because, and tell me why. And you should probably have more than one erosion control method. So you would do that at least twice for your model or your video or your letter or your PowerPoint. 2, share your actual model or illustrate your model. It could be drawn. Some of you are great on the computer and you can draw it on the computer. Or if you're doing a PowerPoint and you're doing pictures, show a top picture and a side picture. Illustrate it. If you're just doing a video, just show your model. And number 3, share your conclusion. Explain the actual results of the investigation. How well did it work? Letter B, address any problems that occurred with your methods. And C, explain how these problems would be fixed or other methods you would use instead. If your only problem is that the methods would be expensive, think of ways to cut costs. So that's your grade. Your grade is your 5-slide or less PowerPoint, your 2-minute or less Flipgrid video, or your written letter. This is the checklist I will be using. To get full credit, you must explain each erosion control method used, and I hope you'll use at least 2. You must show a top and side illustration or video view of your model. You must tell about the results of your investigation, explaining that thoroughly. Tell us what problems were addressed, and explain how you would fix those problems. If you complete all of this in a PowerPoint, in a letter, or a Flipgrid video, you will receive 100% for your final grade for science. Thank you. I look forward to seeing your videos.